Hello, my name is Pancho Mendiola. Welcome to a new episode of Convert on Shopify. So today we're going to be talking about what is A/B testing. And as we said in the previous episodes, these first ones are all about getting to know the concepts that we're going to be using all along the way once we bring the big guns. Because yes, we're going to have some awesome guests here in this podcast. Obviously, we're going to have people from the Convert team, and believe me, they are very knowledgeable when it comes to A/B testing, experiments, and all about conversion. So we're gonna have a couple of them. We're also gonna have people that run agencies, specifically conversion rate optimization agencies. So these are like the superheroes in the world of e-commerce. We're gonna have these types of guests as well, and obviously we're gonna have some entrepreneurs and business owners that are already using these types of strategies and tactics with or within their own organizations. And that's why it's important in these first episodes to learn about all these concepts, so that if we use these concepts or these words in conversations, we don't have to stop, because I mean the idea is to get as much information as possible from these people. This is the whole idea of these first episodes. Let's learn the basics, so then we can have very, very deep conversations, and we don't have to stop and be like specific of what everything means. So today that's the goal. We're gonna introduce you to A/B testing, what it means, how it looks like. And for this, I'm gonna tell you a little story. So I started with e-commerce a while now. At that time, let's say 10 years ago, I was starting a brand, cosmetics, a natural cosmetics brand. And we already had a small retail shop. We were doing very well. We also had some retailers that sold our brand. We had like minor retailers that bought stuff from us and then sold it in their own stores or their own businesses. And things were going really well. But I could see in other countries, in other more, let's say, advanced or developed countries, where I was already seeing how big brands were moving into e-commerce, and not only doing it in a small scale, but they were switching their whole way of doing business and their whole communication channels. Essentially how they operated, they were switching all the way to e-commerce. So I said, okay, I think even though this wave hasn't reached my country, remember I am from Mexico, so this wave didn't reach my country a few years later, but still I was like, okay, I think I need to prepare myself. So I said, okay, I want to start doing e-commerce. So the first thing I did is that I looked for some developers, right? At that time, that was the smart move. Okay, so you find some developers that can help you build a site, your e-commerce site or a store, and that's what I did. So what happened? It was a total fail. I had to go through four different developers to then realize that this was not the way to go. And obviously, I don't want to place all the blame in these developers. The problem was, at that time, I didn't have experience about UX or UI. I didn't even know what it meant. And the developers didn't have any experience in e-commerce, or they don't have experience in marketing. This was a time where not a lot of people were selling online. The only types of sites that were available at that time, most of it was, these like click funnels, sort of things that, the site or the store, as you can imagine it now, it wasn't that common before. It got developed through the years, and it got optimized through the years. So at that time, I didn't have experience with UX, UI, and obviously with development. And the developers didn't have a lot of experience with marketing and what should a site, what is contain, what is the proper flow for a customer. There wasn't a lot of information available at that time. So that's why it was a huge fail. At that time, obviously, I did blame the developers. Now, I think I am a little more mature as well. But now I have a better understanding of why it actually failed. So it failed because we didn't know about like how to do it in both sides. But that experience led me to start finding better solutions. In this case, I said, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to make this happen. And I have failed previously with somebody else doing the development for me. So I need to learn how to do it. There must be a way to get, for a person that doesn't know how to write code, to create something that can sell. So I started doing some research. Obviously, at that time, I learned about, WordPress, and they were just coming out with this, with a new plugin for WooCommerce. We already had Magento, but still it was very, very complicated for me. I don't know anything about coding, and I didn't know anything about hosting and a lot of things. I didn't have technical background. Essentially, I was a merchant. I used to sell stuff, but I didn't have a technical background. So Magento was a dead end for me. And then a friend recommended me Shopify. So Shopify, 10 years ago, it wasn't the platform that we have today. It's super robust and you can do essentially anything with Shopify. You can sell almost anything with Shopify. At that time, it wasn't as robust as we have it today, but still, it was a very, very good option for someone like me that wanted to start selling online and didn't have the technical background to do it. So I dug in, I took all the courses, I did all the, all the reading and the articles and the blogs and everything. And I learned how to basically create my first store. And I think that one of the reasons that I succeeded at first at creating the store was that there were templates. So before, when I was trying to do it with developers, there were no templates. So once you get to this like blank canvas and you say, okay, what should we add to this site, you get froze. You freeze, and then what happens is that if you don't have the experience or the technical knowledge to actually create something, now the developer is going to ask me, okay, what should I put here in the home in the home of the site, and I don't have the background as well of UX and UI, so I'm gonna say, I don't know, you do it, and that's why it didn't work. So with Shopify, we start with a template, and we just have to fill in the blanks to create something that is useful and that it's already tested for its selling capabilities. So I ended up using Shopify, and I could create my own site, and eventually, long story short, eventually this site became a very successful business. Actually, we at that time we already have maybe 15 retail shops and 300 wholesalers, and the online store could sell more. Outsold all of these channels combined, and this business eventually became $1 million business, $1 million a year in sales business. And it was all thanks to e-commerce, and it still is. This brand is still very, very successful because it's e-commerce platform. So what's very interesting here is that we reached 1 million a year in sales without even having to know a lot of technical stuff, or having a technical background, thanks to Shopify. Now, you can say, okay, what a great story, or what a blessing. But the problem is, and this is what I want to address, the problem is that since we never needed this technical background, at least I don't know, maybe I don't need to know about coding, but there's certain stuff that you need to learn or we need to learn along the way. And one of them is A/B testing. So when you grow with a platform like Shopify, where pretty much everything is already set up for you and you just need to tweak certain things to make it work, sometimes you don't grow with this culture of experimentation, okay? What if we draw a little bit outside the lines and maybe we run some tests and have like 2 examples? So with Shopify, this doesn't happen organically. And then the problem is that when you reach to a certain level, let's say when you have $1 million business and you want to start investing a lot more money in marketing, or you want to just bring more traffic into your site, but obviously you want this traffic to convert, because if not, it's gonna be like way more expensive for you. So you don't know how to test, and because you didn't need to learn that in the process. So I learned very late, let's say late. I know I'm a little hard on myself. I think all entrepreneurs are. We criticize ourselves a lot because we are perfectionists, and we always ask ourselves, how can we make it better? So for me, I learned a little bit late that there's stuff that you can do, like A/B testing. So your site can perform and even outperform other sites or your competition with less money. And this is what A/B testing actually is, or it allows you to do. So now, to define this concept, what actually is A/B testing? It's very, very easy to understand. A/B testing is basically running an experiment, but with tools that you can insert in your site that will allow you to measure these experiments. Okay, it's not okay. Let's just do something. Let's just do two versions of something and see which one is better. It's not as simple as that. It's also not super complicated. You will need certain tools to have accurate and correct measurements of your experiments. But essentially, is having two versions of something, and we're gonna give some examples. But having two versions of something and see which one performs better. So let's say that we have a site like Shopify, okay? Or our site is powered by Shopify. We still have a lot of elements in our homepage that we can test with other versions of the site. For example, did you know that more than half of the people that visit your site in their first session won't see other places of your site but the homepage, and specifically right where the banner is? They call this the fold. So the fold is this imaginary line from where you first land. Okay, you land in the homepage and you can see the banner and the menu, and there's an imaginary line right at the bottom where if you scroll, if you do a scroll, what's below that line is it's below the fold. So that imaginary line is called the fold. So more than half of the people that land in your site for the first time won't go beneath the fold and won't even click on anything, like on the menu or on the banner. So this is like general statistics. So this first page or first impression is very, very important for your site. And here we have a lot of elements that we can actually test. So for example, we have the banner. So in your banner, you have a lot of assets. So you have a background color, you have possibly a text, like a headline, a big headline. You also have a button with a call to action. Maybe like right below the banner, you have like a category product or your top sellers, but you can still see some of it above the fold. You have a menu as well. You have that this tiny banner that is above the menu. So there's quite a lot of elements that are in that first page or in that fold that you can actually test. So let's take the headline just as an example. Imagine that right now you already have the version of your site that is published, and you already have a banner design, and you already have a headline for that banner design. So if you want to do A/B testing, what you need to do is, first of all, get a plugin like Convert so you can measure the results, and then you can create another version of this headline, another text, and run it. So what's going to happen is that these softwares will split the traffic in these two versions of the site. When the first one, that we call it control, the first half would go to the control site with the normal text or the normal headline that you started with, and half of the traffic is going to go to the new version of this headline. And at the end, you'll know which one worked better. Okay, now at the end, you have an answer. Okay, so the question was, okay, will it work better if I write these words versus these words or this copy? At the end of this experiment, you'll have an answer. And the answer is, yeah, it actually worked better. So now you have an experiment. Obviously, it's a little bit more complicated than that because there's certain parameters, but we're going to get to those further along the way in the next episodes. Right now, we just want to understand the actual concept of A/B testing. So you can also do this with the color, the picture or the images that you have in your actual banner. You can do also with the color of the button and the text that you have in the button of your call to action. So you can test buy now or more information, or buy now with see all the products, or I don't know, you can run a lot of tests. So the real goal of A/B testing is to switch from, the what we all entrepreneurs do a lot, and this is, I believe, we want to switch those words to I know. Okay, I know, because if we know that something works better than something else, okay, now we have certainty that we can invest in bringing more traffic because we already know that works better. Now, if we already have an answer, we run an experiment and we have an answer between two tests. So now we know that the test number 2 or the version number 2 works better. We can invest more money, or we can also do another test. Okay, now let's see if this one, version 3, works better than version 2. And we can just keep dialing in and eventually have the perfect copy. I mean, obviously we're not gonna get to perfection, but almost perfect. What's the almost perfect pitch or copy or headline or button or color or whatever that converts the most? And this A/B testing is the quintessential way to do basically experimentation and optimization for our sites. Like I said, we are going to get really more into details, and we're gonna dive deeper into how to do it in other episodes. Right now, I just wanted to, give you a little bit of understanding of how this works. So to sum it up, A/B testing is just running experiments on your site, having one version which is your control version, and running against another version of the text or the color or the picture or the offer or the price. There's a lot of ways to do it, and see which one works best. So then we can drive more traffic, knowing that this is going to have better results for our site. And obviously that means for our sales. So I hope this helps. I hope this information will at least get you excited about, getting A/B testing in your ecosystem, in your organization. This is A/B testing, and every topic that we're gonna be talking in this podcast, it's a lot about culture. Having this culture of experimentation and data within organizations. This is the most important thing. All of the other aspects, the technical aspects and the small details, we're gonna cover those. And there's already softwares and agencies and a whole ecosystem that can help you with that. But you need to have that culture first in your organization, and that's one of the goals also of this podcast. So again, thank you very much. If you have any questions, ideas, topics that you want us to cover, please don't hesitate to write to us. And obviously, please subscribe. We're just getting started. We're gonna have some great talks a little further down the way, and some good guests. And also, if you know someone that loves these topics about A/B testing e-commerce, also you can refer them to us, and we'll have a discussion here in the podcast. So thank you very much, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.